Hello and welcome to Dirt Road Believer. I'm Tina, and if you can see, it looks like my dog's having a seizure behind me, but he's really just scratching his back. So I don't know if that's in the frame or not, but he would not go away. He continues to thrash about. I am Tina. Welcome to Dirt Road Believer. I'm so glad that you're here. All this month in June, we have been journaling through June and talking about the importance and significance journaling can have in your faith. And this is my 2022 journal. And did you know that you're in it? Yes. Whether you are just visiting this channel for the first time, or you've happened upon it, or you are a faithful watcher every single week, you are in my journal because I do pray for all those who are connected to this channel. So we are giving away, we've got 3 different journals that we're giving away today, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But I have to share with you the funniest story. So as you know, I'm a teacher. And I work with kids throughout the school year. I work with kids in the summertime. And yesterday, I got the pleasure of talking to a little girl who was going into 1st grade. And she was telling me all about her church. And she said, I was in the Christmas play. I played God's wife. You know that girl that had his baby? And when they told me to rock the swaddle, I did it so good. I'm telling you, children are the most entertaining thing I could possibly add to my life. And so I just had to share that with you guys. I got so tickled at that. But let's give away some t-shirts and journals because we're behind 2 weeks just because of my travel schedule. So we are giving away first, okay, so the t-shirts, not this design, but the original Dirt Road Believer design, go to Sherry Smith and Deb Chance. So I'm going to get the sizes from you guys on Facebook Messenger, and I'll get those to you. And then the turquoise journal goes to Janice McGahee. And the pink journal we drew, and Nicole Bierkamp got this one. All right, so that gets us to today's giveaway. Last journal giveaway, because we're finishing out June. But this is a purple one with gold notes on it, and it says, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. So if you want to enter to win this final journal, just comment either on Facebook or YouTube journal, and you will be entered to win that. We'll draw that next week's episode. And then if you want to enter to win a shirt with this design, it's the Crown of Thorns logo, probably our most popular Dirt Road Believer shirt. You can just simply comment shirt, and we will draw for that next week. All right, guys, we're gonna get towards today's video. Is a trip that I took with just my youngest son. We don't normally do that, but we have this tradition in our family that when you go to middle school, you get to choose a place that you want to go to, and 1 or 2 parents take you by yourself. It's kind of a big deal in our family. Well, when my youngest son went to 6th grade, it was 2020 and the world shut down. And so we still owed him a trip. So he's going into 8th grade this year, and we were able to take him. And he wanted to go to Yellowstone National Park. So we had this great trip planned, just he and I. Well, as you know, Yellowstone National Park closed down. That hasn't happened in forever. I don't know. But our adventure took a little turn, and so that's what our devotion is about today. What happens when, you know, the things that you expected completely, you know, you have to go a different way and you get rerouted. So we're going to talk about that today, and how that happens in our faith a lot of times. All right, let's get to this video. So we got rerouted. We wound up in Grand Teton National Park, which was just fabulous. But I have not reviewed the footage yet of exactly what I got. I hope today I'm taking you on a hike that we went on, which was lovely. But one of the things I'm learning is that a teenage boy, this teenage boy in particular, the most embarrassing thing your mother can do is pull out a GoPro in public and start filming. Apparently, that's the worst thing that can happen to this child in his life. And so I tried to minimize the amount of embarrassment But sometimes I was like, look, I just got to record this. This is so beautiful. I want to remember what this looked like. So we got to go on a hike. We ferried across Jenny Lake, and then we hiked up to a place called Hidden Falls, and then up further to Inspiration Point. So I'm going to take you on that hike with us, hopefully, if I got that footage. And then I will be back with today's devotion. He thinks you've got food. Somebody's been feeding these chipmunks. They think people? If you have not been to the Grand Tetons, put it on your bucket list. It's such a doable park. It's, you know, not as massive as Yellowstone, so you can really do a lot in a short amount of time. And it is, I mean, it was so funny when we would be driving in the car and you'd see, you know, the Grand Tetons, the Rockies. Coleman said, it's like it's not real. It's like I'm looking at a green screen or something. He said, this has to be what heaven looks like. And so it was pretty spectacular. And I was happy to have that time with him where, you know, we could make memories together and just carve that out for the two of us. All right, so when you have these great plans, for us it was Yellowstone. We had gotten a book and, you know, put all the places that we wanted to go, and we had mapped out everything. And honestly, just 2 days before we left, we got the notification that Yellowstone was closed. And at first, you know, he was so disappointed. He was like, well, let's just don't go. Let's just cancel it and we'll go some other time. And, you know, in the travel world, that's easier said than done. There are a lot of things that have to happen to cancel an entire trip, and you also lose money. I said, look, let's just look at this as an opportunity to go on a big adventure somewhere, you know, spontaneous that we hadn't planned before. And so we had a great time. But, you know, a lot of times in life that happens. We have an idea of where we're going, where we're headed, and it just does not work out that way. And so today I want to talk about why and who is really in control of that. You know, if we think about it, we have very little control, but God does have all the control. And so I want to talk about Paul, and this is in Acts 27. And the heading of Acts 27 is Sailing for Rome. Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that like just going on a cruise to Rome, Italy? What could be more lovely? Well, Paul was headed there as a prisoner, and then he got the trip that he thought he was taking, he was not taking. So by the time we get to chapter 28, you read about this horrendous shipwreck that is going to happen. Paul was viewed on this ship, even though he was a prisoner, he was viewed as a man of God. And so they were like, tell us what your God says. Please, like, help us here. We're all going to die. And so God does tell Paul exactly what's going to happen. No one aboard the ship, I want to say it was like 276. There were 276 in all aboard the ship. And they were like, please, we are at your mercy. Just since you serve God, tell us what he says do. And so they throw over all the bait and tackle, I guess. They throw aboard all the food, all the luggage. I mean, there's nothing else on board. And then the last thing that happens is they're not even going to make it to the island that they can see ahead of them. They run into a sandbar, and the ship kind of just cracks apart, and they have to swim for it. The ones who can't swim, they give them a plank or something from the shipwreck to float ashore. But they wind up on this little tiny island called Malta. So that's where this scripture takes us. They did get to sail past, albeit through you know, horrible storms and big waves. They did get to sail in the Mediterranean past the Greek islands. Wasn't that nice? But they wind up in Malta, where there are these indigenous people. And so we're going to start in verse 28. Chapter 28, verse 1. It says, once safely ashore, we then learned that the island was called Malta. The local people showed us extraordinary kindness. They lit a fire and took us in, since it was raining and cold. Now it's like, finally, God, you have put us here safely. And then we go on. As Paul gathered a bundle of brushwood and put it on the fire, a viper came out of the heat and fastened itself on his hand. When the local people saw the snake hanging from his hand, they said to one another, this man no doubt must be a murderer. Even though he has escaped the sea, justice has not allowed him to live. But Paul shakes the snake off into the fire and suffered no harm. They expected that he would begin to swell up or suddenly drop dead. After they waited a long time and saw nothing unusual happen to him, they changed their minds and said, he must be a god. Because they did not serve the living God, they served little idols. Now in the area around that place was an estate belonging to the leading man of the island. His name was Publius, who welcomed us and entertained us hospitably for 3 days. Publius's father was in bed suffering from fever and dysentery. Paul went to him, and praying and laying his hands on him, he healed him. After this, the rest of those on the island who had diseases also came and were healed. So they heaped many honors upon us, and we sailed. When we sailed, they gave us everything that we needed. And eventually they do make it to Rome. But let's talk about when our destiny is sort of detoured and rerouted. Why does God allow that to happen? Well, on this trip, when I heard Yellowstone was closed, I was immediately like, okay, God, there must have been a bear that, I was going to be a snack for or lunch for there. I had this real fascination with bears. Like, I wanted to see one so badly, but I was also terrified at the same time that I might see a bear. I did see bear. They were in captivity. But, so that was my first thought. But the more I got to thinking about it, I was like, there's something on this detour that you have for me, you have for my son, you have for someone I'm going to encounter. There's a reason why I'm not going to Yellowstone National Park. And so I want to point out that the same reason that Paul got rerouted and shipwrecked and all the things that happened to him was for a very specific reason. And it is the same reason that happens to us today. God wants to use us. He has a specific reason for how he wants to use us. And we have a ministry. So no matter where we go, Paul's ministry got the entire ship to listen to him about what to do. It got them safely to shore. Paul's ministry showed that even though a viper bit his hand, God protected him. They began to listen to him, and it results in him, along with all the people on this island, coming up into Publius's home and being healed and having church and realizing that the God that Paul served, that was the real God. And guys, no matter where we go, we stand out like stars, okay, in the universe. We stand out to people as there's something different about them. What is it about them? And when they get to the bottom of it, they learn that it is the God that they serve. That's our testimony. That's our ministry that we share no matter where we go. And as I reflect on this trip and how it was rerouted and the places that we went, things that we did, I don't see anything as jaw-dropping as, me shaking a viper off my hand and not getting hurt by it, or me going up into, an island full of people and ministering and healing. So, I reflect on, God, what was it? What was it? And perhaps the reason for that reroute was some of the conversations I had with my son. Perhaps it was being awakened in the middle of the night in that park, and the Holy Spirit telling me to pray about something very, very specific in that area. Perhaps it was the couple that we met from Australia that we had lunch with one day. You never know exactly, but we will one day, because I promise you, my trip was recorded. And that's another thing I do in my journal. I always, when we go travel, I always, journal what we did and what we saw. Let me tell you about this couple from Australia. We thought we had something unexpected happen on our trip. This couple was, I'm going to say, between 70 and 75. They were an older couple, and they were on a tour bus. And one of the things on their 15-day tour to the national parks was they were going to go rafting down the Snake River. First of all, when I'm 75, am I going to be courageous enough to go rafting down the Snake River? I don't know. But they did it, and while they were in their raft, a huge storm, I'm talking about hail, lightning, they rafted the Snake River in a horrible, horrible storm, similar to Paul. Luckily, they made it back. They were terrified, and I asked him, I said, what about your tour, like the raft guide? What was he doing? Was he trying to keep y'all calm? Like, what was going on? She said, I don't know if he was trying to keep us calm or himself calm. She said, but all he did was in the throes of that storm, he just started quoting poetry. I found that so funny. But you never know in life what's going to happen, and normally when I see that things are going directly opposite of the way that I think they should go, I'm like, all right, Lord, here we go. What is it that you need from me? Where is it that I'm supposed to minister to someone? So guys, I know you've all had some crazy stories about how what you thought was going to happen, it did not happen. So if you have any stories about how the trip that you thought you were taking was not the trip that you wound up taking, please share those with me. I would love to hear from you about that. Don't forget, if you want to enter to win the journal or t-shirt, simply comment journal or t-shirt or both, and you will be entered to win those. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to see you next Tuesday right here with another empowering devotion. So be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Dirt Road Believer, and set your notifications. So there's a little bell, and if you do that, then every time a new video is posted or we're going live, you will be notified. All right, guys, have a great day, and until next Tuesday, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.